Hey guys, this is Colby. Today I'm going to show you how to make this part of the Phase 2 helmet we're working on last time. If you haven't watched my first video, I'd recommend going watching that, since we pretty much covered how to make this part. But now we're going to move on to the back. So let's get started. So go ahead and unhide all your references. So I went ahead and hid my back view earlier because it got in the way. But now I'm actually going to need it. So let's move it to pretty much wherever the front helmet, the front part of it is, like right there. And let's go ahead and grab all the edges right here. So go into edit mode on helmets and grab these sets of edges. So Shift Alt in edge mode and select all these edges. So go ahead and extrude. So press E to extrude on the Y axis. And let's move it like right here, wherever the image reference pretty much starts. Let's press S and then Y and then 0 to scale it on the Y axis to 0 degrees to make it perfectly straight. And go ahead and match it to your reference. Grab this vertex up here. Just kind of move these around, make them more even. It's looking pretty good so far. And go to front view and make sure it's basically like pretty straight. So pretty much it goes to this point right here on the reference. Just move it slightly to the right. Not too much though. Looks good. Something I forgot to mention is that the actual back view of the helmets and the front view are slightly different sizes. So we need to go ahead and set the right size. So maybe move them across, create a plane, Shift A. And we're just going to use this like a measuring tool. So pretty much I want the top of this helmet to match with the top of this. But also to pretty much match on the visor area, right there. As you can see, it's not really there. I'd say the two common points are the top and bottom. Those are the more important ones. And once you can get those matched, then you have a perfect reference sized. So this needs to be scaled down to quite a bit. Maybe a tad bit, not too much though. So now you can go ahead and hide your planes because we have the right size now. And let's move this plane back to where the front view is. Much over here. And we can continue extruding back. So now I'm going to extrude this set of edges to pretty much this point right here because it's a straight line. Let's press E and then Y and then move it right here. Let's go into vertex mode and just grab some of these vertices and move them around a little bit. And let's go to back view. So press 1 on your numpad and then 9 on the upper rights. And let's make sure it essentially shows up on the reference. It's kind of hard to see right now, but it's actually supposed to kind of be like slightly to the left. And if it doesn't match perfectly, that's fine, because sometimes it's kind of hard to get a perfect scale between your references, like a perfect match. But just getting a general match to it is all that's really important. So now let's go ahead and work on this part here. So we need to move these kind of up a bit. And that would be a clean, like, extrusion inward. So I'm gonna do a little time lapse of this process here. I'm just gonna extrude some faces to this point here, match it to the reference to make sure it's pretty much stopping right here. And I'll do this little like square piece here. So see you here in a second. So for this little section here, it's pretty easy. Just go ahead and select these two edges here in edge mode. So press 2 on your keyboard or just select this button here. and select these two edges and press F to fill. So just keep extruding around the back, let's say to this point here. I'm gonna do a little time lapse again and just show this entire process. It's easier to show than it is to explain. So see you here in a second. So for this section here, I'm just gonna grab a vertice and extrude it directly to start creating an outline, and then I can fill in the faces here in a second. So grab this vertice here and extrude to this point. Go to your front view and just make sure, or actually back view, and match to your reference. So it should be like right here. And then go ahead and fill these two vertices. So select the two and press F to fill. That looks good. So now we can just go ahead and fill his face. So select these two edges and press F to fill. So this part's a little bit more confusing, but all I'm going to really be doing is just adding some edge loops. So since there's 3 edge loops, like one here and one here, I'm just going to try to match the best I can. And let's go ahead and fill these faces as we go on, because it's easier to do that than just do it later, because it gets a little confusing sometimes. At this point, I'd recommend just going back into object mode, selecting your whole object, and just press Shift D to duplicate it. So that way you can have a backup in case you mess up the main piece. So you can always kind of come back to this and reset it. Right, so now we can go ahead and grab all these edges and we can continue extruding to the inside and merge them on the other side, basically. Connect the whole piece and to make it one solid piece. So grab all these edges, hold down Shift, select all of them. And let's go ahead and extrude to all the way to the middle. And so this section here, even though it looks like it's part of the piece, I'm just going to model it as a separate attachment, because honestly it just adds a little bit too much complexity and it's going to make it harder to work on the rest of the helmets, but it'll look fine when it's an attachment. So it's like a separate mesh that I joined together with the main mesh later on. All right, we're nearly done with the video. Just make sure to go ahead and round off your like pieces. So this section here, the jawline, should be pretty round. So go ahead and grab this set of edges and press G and then X and move it on the X-axis and just move it around to the side to make it more round. And this section here should kind of like be a little bit more inward. So that way this has a better roundness to it. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab all these edges on the top and move them down just a tad bit, because you can see on the reference that's right about here, there's like a shadow, which means that there's actually a little bit of like a depth to it. So that means that we actually need to extrude slightly outward. So once you have all the edges selected, press E and S and scale outward a tad bit and move it up slightly. So the section on the front is more flat than the back. So if you go to the back, just make sure to match it to your reference. So this edge should be like right here. And that's pretty much it. Alright guys, that's the end of this video. Next time we'll be working on the top and pretty much finishing off the rest of the helmets like we did with the Phase 1 helmets. If you have any questions, just leave a comment down below. And if you like this video, just please consider subscribing and liking the video itself. And if you could consider donating to my Patreon, it'd really help out my channel a bunch. And I'd be able to do this more full time, more often. But anyways, I hope y'all guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.